Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I'm very happy to welcome Nate Zeleznick. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
All right, well, welcome Nate here, and we're going to have a great conversation. He's the founder of Integrated Ascension Method and the White Dove Method, and co-founder of, and please forgive me if I butcher this, the Merpati Putin USA.
Well, Merpati Putti. It's an H on
Oh,
the end. You're very close.
okay. So my
Very
apologies.
all good. All
Well,
good.
I'm going to get to know what this stuff is. So let's kick this off right. Nate, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
All right, Kyle, thank you. And hello to everybody out there. My name's Nate Zeleznick, and just kind of give you a quick rundown of my mission, vision, my purpose. So I am one of only two American master trainers of a very special form of meditation, breath work, energy development, where you actually increase the voltage of your cells, energy healing, and even extrasensory perception that was handed down for 12 generations in a royal family in the Far East. And I became the very first of in history that is not Indonesian, which is where this comes from, to ever learn this and be able to go through the ranks. And I was chosen, myself and one other person, one of my brothers, hand chosen by the royal family of Java, Indonesia, to steward this method for the rest of the world. Now, to that end, my vision is to help at least 10 million people not just learn breath work, because there's breath work, which is great and wonderful that people are doing that. And then there's what I do, which is essentially put a jetpack on something, anything. It's a supercharger for anything else somebody does. And it is just life-changing for anybody who actually does it, even within 10 minutes. And so my purpose, I'll get to this a little bit and just touch upon it with our 30 minutes that we have. But I've had a near-death experience in 2007 during one of my martial arts tests in Indonesia, which numerous people have died in these tests and in this art. It's not a strip mall martial art. It's the real deal, straight out of a movie. And I came back to life. I have a very strong, powerful purpose, which is to help raise consciousness among as many people as I possibly can, because literally the rising tide floats all ships. So that said, Kyle, I was just give people a very quick rundown of myself, where I come from, why I do what I do, and how it's going to benefit them. For people that are familiar with Utah, you know that there's a very predominant religion here in Utah. And I grew up as the only child in my grade that was not part of this religion. And so I was heavily bullied physically and mentally and emotionally almost every single day from the age of 5 until about 16 or so, when I could actually get my own driver's license and I didn't have to ride the bus with all these people. And, they would sometimes come to my house and kick my ass during the summer just for fun. I mean, it was like I was not safe anywhere. So when I was around 12 years old, well, I should back up a little bit, around the age of 11, I started having a lot of very suicidal thoughts. And no place was safe. My mom was quite abusive at the time due to a chemical imbalance in her. So I was getting beat at home. I was getting beat up at school. Well, it's part of the journey that I chose, right? Because to come for my soul to be educated in this and really have compassion for other people, I chose to go through these things. And so when I was about 12, I started having spontaneous out-of-body experiences where I would leave my body. I would feel the expansiveness of not being heavy and not being locked into this physical, slow form. And I would travel and I would have these amazing adventures and I'd be conscious doing this. And I would come back and I didn't know what was happening. But when I got to be 16 and I could drive, I got a job with my own money. The very first thing I ever bought was a book on out-of-body experiences. And I found out even the CIA had trained operatives in remote viewing and out-of-body experiences to spy on the Soviet Union and find out where their missile silos were. So I was like, oh, I'm not dying. It's not a tumor. And that this is an actionable skill that a lot of people can learn. And I started to really go down the wormhole of psi phenomenon. Now, I've never been a religious person. I've never been a real woo-woo kind of person. I'm an experiential person, Kyle. So if somebody tells me something, I might believe them. But once I actually experience it for myself, just like anybody, if you ring the bell, you can't unring it, and it now becomes a known. And belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. It really is. And so I've been on this quest to find more actual knowledge about the spiritual realm, about my potential as a human being, my potential as consciousness that has a body right now, and what we're really here to do, what I'm really here to do. I don't know about everybody else, except for there are three basic main tenets that no matter what, they're universal and you can't argue with them. Number one, we're all here having an experience. You can't stop it, and it's ongoing. Those three things. Other than that, that's up for every single person to have their own experience. But we're all having this experience together. And so when I was 23, after studying the martial arts and long time, I mean, I dove into meditation so deeply, it became as important to me as schoolwork. And when I was 23, I had an amazing thing happen for me where I was shown what my life path could really be. And this happened in the way of watching a blind woman almost get killed trying to cross the street in front of me. Her dog led her face first into a light pole. And the night before, this is why it was cool though, is the night before, I had received a VHS tape out of Black Belt magazine and a little teeny course that was like literally this thick, little teeny pamphlet, which was totally bogus, but it guaranteed me inner power in 2 weeks or I got my money back. I'm like, yes, instant chi. I want that. Well, it was totally bogus, but on this tape, it showed people doing the most amazing and beautiful, crazy martial arts I had ever seen. That said, they were doing things like breaking, not bricks, not little boards. They were breaking solid slabs of stone and stacks of steel and iron and sometimes bricks 25 feet tall. I mean, it was insane. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. I've seen a lot of people do that. But a couple things stood out to me. Number one, they were all smiling, having a great time. So there's none of the aggressiveness, the rage that you'd see in people breaking bricks. No screaming and yelling. I was like, da, 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 okay, yeah. But then it showed people who were blindfolded or even blind people who could do anything. And I mean anything that people with vision can do. Driving cars through Jakarta's traffic. And if anybody here listening or viewing this has ever been to Asia and you see how they drive, you realize for us who actually have signs and the things that we take for granted, you will die in an instant over there because everybody knows how to drive, well, except for us over there. And they're able to navigate these things in a Jeep or on a motorcycle. And I'm like, wait. And it even had military people who were shooting targets out of people's hands while blindfolded.
Nah.
And it showed blind people who could literally read printed material and their eyes are as wide as a sheet. And I thought it had to be a joke. I mean, come on. It's not David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear. No way. But then the next day I watched this woman almost die in front of me. And I put these two things together where, okay, I've been having these out-of-body experiences. I know that this kind of phenomenon does exist. And here is a blind woman who needs my help. And it was an inspiration, a thing that I just had to find those Indonesian people and try to help her. I don't know why. I'd never met a blind person. I didn't know her. But my soul was calling me to do this, and I just had to do it. So I researched the internet. This is the early days of dial-up. So it was, of course, at the library where they had high-speed internet of like 1 megabyte a second. It was great. But I found them. And I sponsored the very first demonstration of this art, which you mentioned earlier. It's called Marpati Putih. Now, that sounds really strange in like English. You're like, what did you call me? But in Indonesian, it means white dove. So this is the white dove system of energy manipulation, energy development, higher consciousness states, extrasensory perception, energy healing, and then also combative martial arts. This was one of those arts that wasn't designed for competition. It was designed for battlefield warfare with blades. So it's not a joke. It's one of those ones where, yeah, that whole term "do or die," it really is not just a saying. Sometimes that does happen in this art. Asia is different than here. That doesn't fly here. But, I was able to bring the people over here and I got to see them do these things, blind people. And they started teaching me some of this breath work, which, I mean, I think everybody's done breath work, right? You've done Wim Hof or you've done holotropic, or at this time, Wim Hof was not known. He hadn't even done the stuff that he was doing. It wasn't developed at this time. This is 25 years ago, 26 actually. Wow. But when they showed me these breathing methods and I was able to start really feeling this power inside of me, it was incredible. It just like, oh my God, I've been meditating every single day since I was 15, like probably 12 or 13 years old. I'd never experienced anything like this. And they're like, okay, well, I took them around the country and I set up these demonstrations for them to show this art to like the Utah schools for the deaf and blind. And I got them on all the news stations here in Utah. And then we even got to go to the Indonesian embassy in Washington, D.C., and I got to demonstrate for the ambassador of Indonesia. So I'm 23 years old and I'm meeting foreign dignitaries. I'm like, this is the high life. This is amazing. And I get to help these people. Hell yeah. But I'd never thought I'd be able to train. So when that team was about to leave, they said, Nate, we're going to allow you. We talked with the heirs, the royal heirs, and they want you to be the first non-Indonesian to ever learn this. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I just want to help you guys out. And they're like, how are you going to help us if you can't know what we really do? I'm like, you got me there. And my whole life, I wanted to be a ninja and a Jedi, a ninjedi. And here was this opportunity to actually become literally a Jedi Padawan. And I had every excuse in the book. So I'd like to ask all the viewers out there, how many of you out there have ever had amazing opportunities, but because of your own fear or your feelings of unworthiness and your lack of confidence in yourself, did you shy away from what could truly be an amazing life? All of us have done that. But I knew my spiritual imperative was to help blind people, and I had to do whatever the hell I had to do to help them do that. And so there just happened to be a Indonesian former special forces instructor of Merpati Putih, because this is used by every branch of the Indonesian military, including their most elite special forces for the past 40 years, because it's so effective in what it does to change us physically. It's insane. And so there just happened to be a guy living in Salt Lake City, 35 minutes from me, of 3 people in the whole country that could train me. There was one that was within an hour's drive. So I started training with him the next week. And a few weeks after that, one of my younger brothers joined us, and we were able to go through the ranks on a very accelerated, massively accelerated course that our trainer didn't want us to learn. He was like, I'm only training you because the heirs asked me to, but if you guys quit, it's not my fault. And so he put us through what he would have put the special forces through. And us being very stubborn, hard-headed, won't give up, grit your teeth and get through it kind of people, well, you can see it kept going. And, for 20 years after that, we owned one of the largest martial arts and meditation academies in the country. And then COVID shut us down, as it did so many. And because, who wants to spar over Zoom while kids are eating a sandwich while they're like, I got you. Yeah, it doesn't really work. But then also there was so much fear around it that people just didn't want to come in. And so half the martial arts schools in the country closed. About 7,800 martial arts schools closed in the first 6 months of COVID permanently. And it's unfortunate, but that was actually one of the best things that ever happened. So I brought these Indonesian people over here to teach blind people how to see, but it didn't take very long to figure out that all people are blind. We just don't see what we don't see. And this art being so unique in its way to help us, even if we're Americans and we don't have a belief structure, maybe we're skeptical. I can't do anything for cynics. Can't prove anything to them. Everything sucks. So they've got that paradigm, and that's fine. Skeptics, however, they have an open mind that prove it to me, or I prove it to myself, and then I'll believe and I'll get it and I know it. I love skeptical people because once they do this, as long as they have a body, it will work for them just right off the bat to feel what's physically happening. But when it comes down to the psi aspect and the mental ability to see without your eyes or hear from a distance or astrally project, that's unique to every single person. Very few people can see without their eyes. It's just a fact, including blind people. But it was so inspirational that, you know what? What else is possible? What X-Man ability do you have, Kyle? I don't know. I can't tell that by looking at you. Maybe you'll teleport, not really, but maybe you'll be able to have healing, energetic healing, where you transfer energy to other people to help them. Maybe you have rock solid intuition and you know when things are going to happen before they happen, or you know if you're going to make a good business decision or not. I've had students of mine make $250 million decisions based upon their intuition after they learned what we teach. And I mean, made $250 million. I mean, it's nuts. But the thing is everything's energy. We understand that, right? It's energy, frequency, and information. And we are this amazing divine antenna. We're also a broadcaster. So we're constantly sending energy out and we're constantly receiving energy back in at a rate far faster and more in depth than our conscious mind can ever possibly understand. And that's what this system does, is it helps people unlock and tap into what information is coming in and what they're sending out to manifest more, to have greater athletic ability. We saved a lot of marriages because libido goes through the roof. I'm just saying. Um, but then also how to develop these things like energetic healing or perception beyond eyesight. And we've been able to prove this to medicine and science. And some of the best neuroscientists in the world have been like, they've just been floored. Like, we can't, what the hell? Thousands of brain scans, never seen anything like this. It's a skill. That's why I'm so stoked about it, because it's a method. It's not a Rama Lama Ding Dong belief system that you don't wrap your head around unless you grew up in a culture. You do it and it works. And so that's the Marpati Putti system, or the white dove method. But now, my integrated ascension method, what I've done is I decided about a year and a half ago, when my brother and I split in our business, which was definitely for the best, that I wanted to bring in things like biohacking and vibroacoustic technology, brain training uh, technologies that actually help change the structure of our brain, new organic food, sometimes even stem cells. I wanted to help with 21st century to level up this already incomparable breathwork and human potential system. Now I combine those together. So that's why it's the Integrated Ascension Method, or the IAM for short.
I want to go back to the astral projection.
Yeah.
The reason why is it happened to me twice in my lifetime, and I wanted to do it again. I don't know how to do it. You'd be able to teach me to do that?
So different techniques, absolutely. Here's the interesting thing about that. Forever and ever and ever, and this is an important thing to know about this. There are certain things that can help facilitate that, but when it comes down to it, it's the wanting of it that prevents it. When you're just like, I don't give a shit. That's when it happens. It's like so many other things. So it's an exercise in actual surrender. And I'm not talking about the thing like, okay, I'm going to surrender. I'm really going to surrender with no attachment. I promise to myself I'm not going to be attached to this, and then having the expectation. You can't fool your subconscious. You can't lie to your soul. You just can't. So yes, that is something that a lot of people spontaneously have happen. I just had a great astral travel 2 nights ago. It was so beautiful to be free of the physical body. So yes, there are techniques, and yes, that is part of my program that people can use to facilitate this, but I cannot promise that because nobody can.
Well, the alternative healing, which is something I'm very, very interested in. We discussed some of my health concerns before we started. Take me, I know it's going to be a lot to it, but can you break it down kind of and shorten
Yeah.
it a little bit for us dumb people.
No, not some people. I would say for all of you learning people, like we all are. No, there's no dumb. So yes, there are many different energetic healing modalities out there, right? So you've got, say, Joe Dispenza does things with his quantum healing, which the power of eight from Lynn McTaggart, and there's Reiki. Everybody's pretty much heard, at least heard the term. So these are channeling modalities. So you're taking something from there, or the all, if you will, the quantum field, channeling it through yourself to give it to somebody else to help their body balance out, right? With Merpati Putti, we become the energy factory. We are generating more electricity in our cells. So just as a quick aside, and I'll come right back to it, that the father of epigenetics, Bruce Lipton, scientist Bruce Lipton, he says that every single one of our cells has about 1.4 volts of electricity times 37 trillion cells, and we are producing about 70 trillion volts of electricity, bioelectricity, not the same as in your wall, no, at a time. Now imagine, just imagine, Kyle, if you could take that from 1.4 volts to 1.5 volts. How much more electricity would be circulating in your body? And the interesting thing is our body always wants to be healthy. It really does. It wants to be in homeostasis. But we keep poisoning it with our food, with our water, with our air, with our own mind, with the information that we take in that the media feeds us, which is totally toxic. All these things, we're bombarded all this time, which lowers our electrical potential and our charge, but our body wants to be healthy. So what we in Merpati Putti do is we make enough energy in our body that we have ample to give. And so when we help someone balance their energy and give energy to a certain part of their body that's injured, we don't heal. And anybody that says, I'm a healer, I would beg them to look at that as the truth, that all you are is you're helping someone else's body heal itself, right? So rather than I am the light, I'm the way, okay, maybe that guy was. But for the rest of us, we need to make sure that we understand we're all kids walking each other home. And if I can help you, I actually help the entirety of humanity just by helping you. But I'm helping you help yourself, essentially. So with that, we help with energy transference from ourselves to another person to help their body heal. And when that happens, and I can't even tell you how many medical doctors have said to my students after surgeries, after injuries, after illnesses, this is bizarre. You're in your late 40s and you're healing like you're 15 years old. Like this is, they don't get it. And that's okay. In the medical establishment, things outside their box, their paradigm of this is what we learned in med school, it's really hard for them to digest. Naturopathic physicians and chiropractors are like, well, yeah, of course. It's just a difference of education and belief structure there and what they're used to doing. So I hope that makes sense. With this energy healing, it all starts with our breath. All starts with our breath. And I can't even stress that enough, that breath work, all breath work is good. No breath work. Well, put it this way. We are the worst breathers in the animal kingdom. We are. Humans, it's been shown over 200 different health effects, negative health effects are caused directly, or they've been linked directly to improper breathing. Number one is mouth breathing. Worst thing you can do. Worst thing you can do is breathe in through your mouth. Out through your mouth is fine. In through your mouth, very harmful. Mouths are meant for eating. Noses are meant for breathing. That's a good rule of thumb. So as we breathe in through our nose, we have all these interesting things happening chemically through our pituitary gland, the pineal gland in our brain as the air passes over them. That doesn't happen. Plus, it doesn't filter the air. Plus, it doesn't cool it down or heat it up as we need it if we breathe in through our mouth. And so that alone has been shown to lead to just some pretty terrible health effects, just mouth breathing alone. So that's one piece of advice for everybody out there watching or listening. Stop breathing in through your mouth. And I go so far, tape your mouth shut when you sleep.
I
And
bet my wife would like that.
well, it does help with snoring. It also helps with sleep apnea. You also don't have to get up and pee nearly as much because there's a chemical called vasopressin, which is released when we breathe in through our nose. So when you do that, you don't have to get up and go to the bathroom as much. So all of us who are getting older and our prostates are saying, get up 5 times. Imagine only if you only had to get up once instead of 5 times. What would that be worth to you? Would it be worth breathing correctly?
Uh,
So, and
yeah.
that's something I do cover that in my free class, which I have for everybody here, and in all of my different digital courses. They help us. Best way Joe Dispenza put this well, that if we can make ourselves sick through the hormones of stress, we can also make ourselves well again through the hormones of health. And it all starts with your breath. And so doing that properly in a very specific way, which I teach, it's amazing what can happen with those health results. And I can't guarantee anything for anybody, but I've trained thousands of people over the past 23 years, 24 years, and I've seen truly miraculous turns around in health simply by focusing on their electricity, on their breath, on their mind, and meditation. We're very complex organisms. And so knowing how to really hack the body and hack the mind can move us into a completely different state, not just of health, but of entirely our being. So I hope that makes sense.
So what you're saying is with these techniques, there's no incurable disease?
No, I'm not saying that. And this is what I mean. And this is a very important thing that everybody out there gets. Healing does not always mean curing. So why would a soul choose to come in to a body and die of leukemia at 3 years old? That's a really interesting question, right? And so why do good things happen to bad people and why do bad things happen to good people? It's all a matter of what we're choosing in any given moment, but also we don't just have a goal line, we also have a soul line. That's larger than any of us can possibly fathom. And it's definitely not something that we can sit there and judge because if you think about it, and after having a near-death experience, as I mentioned, and coming back to life and numerous out-of-body experiences and reading as much literature as possible on the subject, one thing becomes very apparent. Our existence on the planet is just a blink of an eye. It's faster than that. That's why it's important to enjoy every single moment, even the hard, tough, heartbreaking ones, because we came here for a reason, which is to have experience. It's ongoing and you can't shut it off, right? And so we get the opportunity to ask ourselves, what do I prefer to experience now? So there are, I would say, imbalances and diseases that are not supposed to be cured because it's all a learning process. And I know that's not the result anybody, and that's not the answer anybody ever wants to hear. Like, yeah, yourself, you as a higher being chose to die from a great white shark attack, but you did, or else it wouldn't have happened. It's just so much farther than we can possibly think about. So I would recommend for anybody out there that's interested, look at the Monroe Institute in Virginia. They've been training the CIA for decades. Things that are based in science, less in woo-woo, more in the science. The things that I do as well, it can be traced back to things that we can measure in a lot of ways, and also some that we're not quite ready to measure yet, but we're getting closer. And I like the fact that it's not belief structure based. It's based on evidence and on experience. And like I said, we're all here to have experience. So I hope, yeah, everybody pays attention to theirs.
One thing that I can testify to and I advocate for is meditation. Reason being is that I suffered from depression, anxiety, PTSD. I took all the medications and went to the therapist and all that stuff. But the medications seemed like they were making it worse. They were amplifying a lot of those emotions. And when I started doing meditation, I found myself getting off of those pills, didn't really need to go to a therapist. And let me say this, you don't do anything until you talk to your doctor. I am not a doctor. I'm just stressing this so I don't get in trouble. I'm just saying it worked for me.
Yeah. Well, and it won't hurt anyone. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen by becoming present, by not having as much stress, by being happier and more connected to everything around you? I mean, the worst that could happen is that nothing happens. But the thing is, I'm with you, Kyle, that especially for people that have PTSD, let's say they've seen things in war or that they can't unsee, or they're a sexual assault survivor, or they were in part of human trafficking, or they were abused as a child. We all have that shadow side. All of us have that shadow side. It's the people who are always cheering all the time. They're the ones who bury it, right? And it comes back. The piper gets paid somehow. And so the shadow work of understanding that we are the conglomeration of our experiences, and to accept and love all of it, and really hold our inner child close and like, hey, those things were not your fault. Even though you blamed yourself, it's time to let that stuff go. And you know what? Those are also part of you, part of us, part of the we. Instead of fighting it and hiding it and being ashamed of it, doesn't mean you have to broadcast the time you peed your pants in second grade to everybody out there. But just to realize inside, okay, I am a human being, not just a human doing and a human having, I'm a human being. And I have been a lot of things. I've been the bad guy. I've been the good guy. I've been maybe a father. Definitely all of us have been a son or a daughter. We've all been a friend. And I think most of us have all been an enemy. We have all these different things inside of us. And meditation, helps us to recognize that and also helps shut that shit off. Because when it comes to real meditation, and I'm not talking about the thing where the guru leads you, like, think about the white light coming into your head. I'm talking about the real deep meditation that goes inside you as a soul that has a body. You can't hide from yourself. That's one thing that meditation helps you do, is accept yourself and be okay with that. It also helps your athletic performance too. So any athletes out there, you listen to this, get my free class, take my LEAP course, man, you will see every single thing that you do in sports just blow the roof off of it. Your personal best will just be falling like crazy. That's like I said, that's why the Indonesian military uses it. They don't use it in a spiritual capacity until you get to the high levels of their special forces. But it all starts with your breath, and it can make an amazing difference. But the breath is the most important indicator of life. Think about it. You come into the world, how does the doctor know you're alive? You cry, you breathe. Guess what? When you're dead, if they can't get a pulse, they're still going to check your nose like this. See if you're breathing. It's that breath. That's the whole indicator. But if we come in with an inhale and we leave with an exhale, and we don't pay attention to any of the ones in between 25,000 times a day or more, we're missing an opportunity thousands of times a day to be right here, right now. So, like Eminem said, are you going to seize the opportunity or just let it slip? It's not like you got to do anything. You're breathing anyway. You might as well do it for a way that makes you healthy and not hurt you, right?
So what is your website?
Oh, yeah, I am pretty fortunate. When I rebranded about 7 months ago from the White Dove Method, now it's the Integrated Ascension Method. I was able to get, like, I don't know how this website was available, but it is iampure.energy. So not .com, it's I am pure energy, and there's a dot before the energy. It's one of those new web addresses. So it's I am pure dot energy, which I think is sexy. Because as far as what I do, that's a pretty cool website. If I were a plumber, it wouldn't work quite as much, But for what I do, I am pure.energy, and people can go get my free ebook. They can also get a free class on energetic and mental shielding, how to shield yourself so you're not being bombarded by other people's garbage all the time. And then I've got digital courses there. And then I also do elite level one-on-one training with influencers, CEOs, pro athletes, things like that, on a one-on-one basis. And I tailor that training to them.
Do you have a coupon code?
I do. Well, for anybody on this podcast, if you go to my website, the iampure.energy, and go to my courses for either the masterclass or the leap, if you enter the code Kyle10, you'll get 10% off right there. Yeah.
And what is your social media?
Oh, well, you can find me on social media anywhere that you find Integrated Ascension Method on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. My YouTube channel, I even have some free meditations there. You can go and do some free meditations or breath work on the Integrated Ascension Method.
Well, I will put all those links in the description to make it easy for folks to find you. And Nate, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
My pleasure. It's always a joy to be able to spread more light and help people understand that you're a lot more than you think, and you think a lot more than you know.
Again, thank you. And I want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Hit that subscribe button for my regulars. You guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. And until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network